Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Thursday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. It's 4 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, I was thinking about this. This video probably isn't going to get a lot of views. It's not about a famous person. It's not about current events. But it might actually be one of the most important videos I've made. Out of the 2,300 videos I've made on this channel, this might be one of the most important, to me at least. If I could help just one person, I want to share with you guys some of the stuff I've learned, more precisely, how to get help, how to get a bed in a detox, or how to get into rehab successfully, what to expect, the things to do and things not to do, and especially, this is what I'm going to share with you guys, the timing to successfully, because a lot of times it's hard to get a bed. There's a lot of people that need help these days. And even though it was over 17 years ago that I went through this, I'm pretty sure there's even more people trying to get help now. And I'm sure the beds are very hard to get. And I'm going to share with you guys some things I learned to successfully get help. Okay, let me start at the very beginning here. Like I said, so this was between the period of like 2003, 2006. I was in and out of rehabs. More precisely, detoxes, because I had this frame of mind. I didn't know much. I knew a lot about drugs and alcohol, but I didn't know a lot about getting help. And in my mind, I didn't know the difference between detox and rehab. Let me start right there. If you're using alcohol or pretty much any drug, you're going to need to go through a detox first. A detox is like a 3 to 7 day period where you get stable, where you get the alcohol or drugs out of your system. And from there, you're transferred or you're moved to a rehab where the long-term work starts, where, by no means are you physically back to normal. This is something that took me a long time to learn. Let me start at the very beginning here. The way that I heard about getting help was through one of the dealers, through a dealer I had. The guy that was dealing me heroin was the person that shared this with me. He told me he was going to be gone the following week because he was going into a rehab, a detox. And I knew I need help, but I had no idea. I knew of rehabs, but I didn't know how to get in or where they were or anything about that. And this is how I first learned of it, through one of my dealers. He told me he was going to go into a local hospital. Right here, as a matter of fact, in Bristol, Connecticut. Bristol Hospital, a fantastic hospital, by the way. And they have a detox program, a mental health program. And I won't get too into this, but it's a mental health unit. It's called dual diagnosis. There's people that get help for drugs and alcohol, people dual diagnosis, people that get help for drugs and alcohol, and like a mental health issue, like bipolar or depression or anxiety, which was me. And then just people that have mental health issues, so that everybody was in this one floor of the hospital. And like I said, this dealer told me about this. He said that he had heard that they had great food there, that they took care of you, that they gave you medically assisted treatment, so you weren't suffering too much. In other words, they would give you methadone or Suboxone, more precisely methadone, to wean you off the opiates over that 3 to 7 day period. So it was, you knew you were going to do something. It was going to be unpleasant, but it was the least unpleasant way to do it. And this dealer is the one that told me about this hospital. So I seriously started thinking about getting help. And I'm going to give you guys some tips on it's not about gaming the system, but some of the things I learned and what to expect. Okay, pack some clothes. Most people don't try to get help until they're in trouble, until they run out of money, until there are people looking for them, until they get kicked out of their house, they lose their job, and that's, unfortunately, it's called hitting bottom. Most people don't seek out help until that point. And lots of times they don't have money. You're out of money, you're out of a job. There's rehab programs, like the big expensive rehab programs where you can go in and they'll do the detox and the rehab. But the places I went, I would always go to the hospital first. My first stop was my local hospital, and they always have a mental health ward or a drug and rehab floor to do this. And then from there, after like 7 days usually, Somebody helps you, there's nurses there that are assigned to, there's all sorts of help there. And one of the people there will help you get into a rehab after the detox. And, according to your having insurance or not insurance or whatever. The first thing you should do once you decide you need help, pack some clothes. Because you're going to need some clothes, just basic underwear, socks. It doesn't matter if you have, most people go in there with a plastic bag full of clothes. It's not like you're going on vacation here, but bring some clothes, because otherwise you're just going to wear the same shirt. You'll feel better, and if you feel better, I think you're more likely to be successful in this and through this 7 days, or through people can bring you clothes, but it's a good idea just to bring along a bag. And plus, it gets in your head that you're going to do this. You bring stuff, you go prepared, and in your head, I think that's the most important thing. You're going there with the intention of getting help, because there's been times where I got frustrated because it took so long to get in that I just walked out, and that happened quite a few times. You want to go in, and you want to stay in, and you want to complete this. Plan on spending a long time in observation before they actually give you help. You're going to go into the hospital, and here's the thing: you got to be completely honest with them. They're going to ask you what you're using, how much of it, when's the last time you used, and all that. Be completely honest. Honestly, I found that the more messed up that I was, the more likely it was that I would get help. They'll do a urine test right there, so they'll know. It doesn't help to lie. Do not under any circumstances try to sneak anything into the detox or rehab, because they're going to search you. They're going to search your clothes. They're going to search everything. They're going to search the lining of your jacket, the pants, the socks, anything, books, anything you bring in there. People have tried to do it before, and they know where to look. So do not, because believe it or not, some people do, because a lot of people have something left over, or they'll say, well, maybe, they don't know how it's going to go in detox, so maybe they should bring something just so they don't, they're not too miserable in withdrawal. They make up some excuse. Do not bring anything in there, because you'll get caught, and you're less likely to get help if you get caught. Okay, so plan on spending a lot of time. You're going to, unfortunately, in a lot of these emergency rooms, they take people, you're going to wait. You're going to be one of the last people, and I'm going to give you a way to get around this, to get seen. They're going to take everybody else before you, more than likely people that have already had heart problems or broken bones. Of course, they're going to take them before the person that's looking for help for a detox or rehab. There is one time I went to the hospital, and I actually brought along a suicide note that I had written, and they took that a lot more seriously, and I got admitted right away. Once, if you mention anything about wanting to hurt yourself, you will be admitted, more than likely, with or without your consent. If you say you're thinking that you're hurting yourself, they're going to keep you there. So if you really want to be in there, and you be completely honest, they're going to keep you under observation. Once they bring you in, there's an observation room, and they don't treat you. They're going to watch you. And you share this room with other people. This is the worst part of the whole thing. It's one of the very first things you go through, and a lot of people are going to want to just quit right there and leave the hospital. But don't do it. You'll lay in a bed. Like most of the places I went to had like 5-7 beds in a row, and you're sharing this big room, and there's a window with nurses on the other side, actually like a fishbowl, watching all the patients, observing them to see how they're doing, how honest, what the actual problems are. And they don't treat you. They don't give you anything for your discomfort during this period. So if you're in withdrawals, you're going to spend a good 3 to up to 12, 18 hours in this room. They'll feed you and everything, but it's going to be unpleasant. Once after that period, and if there's a bed, they'll bring you up to the detox floor, the floor where you're going to actually get the treatment. Okay, here's some tips. These are some things I learned. The best times, if you truly want to get a bed, the time of the month that you go for help. If you have any, some people hit rock bottom and they have to get help immediately, most people. But if you can pick a time of the month at all where you're going to go to the hospital to get help, pick a time when most people get checks. Like say a lot of people are on government benefits and they get those checks at the end of the month or the beginning of the month. You want to go and get help right after everybody, like within one day of everybody getting money. So I would say right about the second or third day of the month might be a safe day, because everybody will have money. And when addicts or alcoholics have money, they're out spending it, and they're not trying to get help. When they run out of money, that's when the beds fill up. Unfortunately, this is the truth. This is something I learned. And if there's no beds, there's no beds. And they'll keep you in this observation room, and they'll switch you to other hospitals, and it'll be more miserable. It'll get to the point where you're going to want to just walk out, which you won't be able to do if you said you want to harm yourself. But you want to go on a day when most people have money, when most people are out spending their money. When people run out of money, like say the second week, because addicts run out of money quick. Even anytime after the 5th, 6th, 7th of the month till about the 27th or 28th is a bad time to go get help, because that's when everybody else runs out of money and they're looking to get help. If you want a bed, go right as soon as most people get their checks, which is usually at the end of the month, or the last few days of the month, or the first few days of the next month, the 28th through the 2nd or 3rd. Right about then, right about the 2nd would be the best day. 2nd or the 3rd of the month would be one of the best days to seek help at a hospital. Okay, the timing. Here's another part of this. I learned after 13 trips or more to detox, you're going to want to go when the least amount of people are at the emergency room. And a lot of people that go to the emergency room aren't actual emergencies. A lot of people go, like they'll miss work and they'll go to the emergency room around 9 a.m., 10 a.m. to noon. It starts to fill up, or at night, the emergency room is packed. I found the best time to go is about 4 in the morning. After the bars close and the initial car accidents come through and all that, because you will wait. They're going to take everybody else that is, the more dire circumstances, like car crashes, broken bones, are going to go before you. I have spent 13, 15 hours just sitting in the waiting room before I could go in, before they take me in, and then I'd spend another 6-10 hours in this observation room. So we're talking a whole full day and a half before I actually got from walking in the door of the hospital up into my bed, like 36 hours. You can expedite this by listening to these tips. Like I said, if you can expedite this down to maybe just 6 hours, if you just listen to these tips, I would go at like 4 in the morning, and there's almost nobody in the emergency room, and they see you almost right away, and they get you into the observation room, and there's less people there. And I would get up and be up on the detox floor by within 6 to 8 hours, because there's that observation period that they're going to hold you for. This is another thing I learned. Like, I didn't know the difference between honestly, I didn't know the difference between detox and rehab. I thought I was in rehab when I went to these hospitals, and this was just detox. So after the 5 or 7 days, they'd ask me, okay, what are you going to do next? And I would always say, well, I'm going to go to outpatient, and I'll set it up myself and all that. And a few times I tried, and the outpatient was so ridiculously expensive. It was like $300 or $400 a week. I ended up blowing it off. Almost every time, as soon as my foot hit the sidewalk, I would go, and as soon as I left the detox, I'd be out using again. So this didn't work for me. I thought I was all clean and sober and good to go after just 5 days in the detox, and that was, looking back, that was just so ridiculous to even think that. That was just the very beginning. That was just not even the very first inch of a miles-long journey. So you're going to want to plan to go into a rehab. You're going to want to spend a good 3 to 6 months at least. But don't even think about that. Just the first steps is just getting in the door and getting into detox and getting in bed. And like I said, these are my tips. Don't bring anything in. Try to bring some clothes along. You'll be more comfortable instead of wearing the same clothes. You could wash them, but wearing basically the same clothes you walked in with for 5 or 7 days, or wearing one of those one of those hospital outfits with no back. That's the last thing you really want to wear when you're going to be going to meetings and you're going to be talking to counselors and sitting around and talking with other patients. And you'll be more comfortable if you just bring a couple changes of clothes. And those are my tips, like I said. And do not, under any circumstances, try to sneak anything in. It's a bad way to start it. I would know. So these are the tips I have. I'll be back later with some more thoughts on detox and rehabs if you need help. Have a good Thursday.